Hello and welcome to wjlive. I'm your host Olivia Brown, and this episode sponsored by Pure Bulk starts right now. Remember when everyone was getting censored for saying that ivermectin was a treatment that could be used for COVID-19? We saw this all over the place, and social media was putting people as misinformation, taking down their accounts. We saw lots and lots of people, including Joe Rogan, was taken down by CNN for saying the same exact thing. So now what we just saw is that the National Institute of Health just put ivermectin as a treatment for COVID-19. And we can see here that it is marked as FDA approved, widely used and generally tolerated, may interfere with the spike protein attachment, anti-inflammatory properties. It's beneficial for people with COVID-19. And this is literally what everybody was saying for 2 years. So why are they waiting so long to do this? And they tried to do it very, very surreptitiously, trying to not announce anything, but people on Twitter really caught on to this. And it's important that we are paying attention to this because it just shows how the media and the general medical sphere really tried to demonize conservatives and even people that were not conservatives for talking about this. And it was super detrimental that we saw because many people could have been helped by this, but the media and the FDA, they all went overboard saying that this was not a treatment. And Joe Rogan actually got the worst of it. Let's show this video.
Well, I think there are some people who want to believe that there is a magic pill for COVID, which of course we would all want. But this is the main issue. So with ivermectin, not only is it that we know, not only are we saying that there's no evidence it works, it goes beyond that. We actually know that it doesn't work. There was a systematic review looking at 10 randomized controlled trials that have been done, that were done in different countries, looking at different doses of ivermectin. And they found that there was no benefit for ivermectin in reducing mortality, death to COVID-19, no reduction in symptoms or duration of symptoms for COVID-19. So it does not work. And so when everything is risk and there is no benefit, then this is not something that should be done. And I think the greater harm here is that it provides this false reassurance. People are now going about not getting vaccinated, saying that they can do whatever they want with the understanding that there is this magic pill to save them at the end of the day, except that it's not a magic pill that actually works.
So yeah, they said magic pill, and now it's actually being widely put as treatment, which is so insulting to everybody that said this can be used and used in an experimental way. But it's interesting because ivermectin had been used for many years for malaria, for different instances, and they demonized Joe Rogan for the horse dewormer, and he, later went on and talked to CNN's medical director and said, this is a lie, this is not horse dewormer. And they even got the medical man from CNN to say that was a lie. It was a very, very controversial, and I loved how he pointed that out and really didn't back down to the media, because that's something that we need to continue to be doing. Also, one of the most ironic posts is what the FDA had to say about this. They said, you are not a horse, you are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it. This is incredibly snarky and not how the FDA, who is in the United States government, should be talking to people. That is unacceptable. And it's great that this is really being called out now and that people are finding out about this. But like I said, disappointing that it has happened 2 years later, and they've really stopped all these people who could have been getting help from this. Speaking of getting help, I love to use Pure Bulk, and they have many great supplements that help you throughout the week and to stay on the top of work. And we love them. They are our sponsor, and make sure that you can sign up on purebulk.com and use our code wjlive. So Biden recently went on this very strange rant in Pennsylvania in a attempt to rally around talking about gun violence and what he is going to do. It's the Safer for America plan that he is rolling out. And it's extremely weird the way that he does it, and it's gained a lot of controversy for what he said. Let's show this video.
They're not unlimited. Right now, you can't go out and buy an automatic weapon. You can't go out and buy a cannon. And for those brave right-wing Americans who say it's all about keeping America's independent and safe, if you want to fight against the country, you need an F-15. You need something a little more than a gun. No, I'm not joking. Think about this. Think about the rationale we use that's used to provide this. And who are they shooting at? Shooting at these guys behind me.
Did he really just say that? That in order to have a safe America, you are going to have to use an F-15? If other people as yourself don't know what an F-15 is, it is a tactical fighter which the Air Force uses, that they can drop 5,000-pound bombs and use up to 16 bombs at a time. So he's essentially, saying that they're going to bomb the government? That's not for me to say, but in preparation for our show, one of our producers put together a hilarious meme. This is Biden actually on top of one of the F-15 fighter jets, and it's probably my favorite thing I've seen all day. We saw here, remember when Trump called the media the enemy of the people, and that same media lost their freaking minds? Biden threatens to bomb the actual American people, and there's crickets. So, wow, this is crazy that we could see this happening here. There's so many other tweets. Let's show this. This one says, I love when they threaten to bomb their own citizens. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. LOL, the federal government can easily kill you with an F-15, so you don't need a gun, is a brain-dead argument only President Biden could make with a straight face. This is from a candidate, Brian Stewart, in Ohio, and yes, this has gone into the mainstream now. We have another candidate from California. He said, is the Uniter-in-Chief threatening 50% of his nation's citizens with being attacked by their own military? And here we see Sean Davis, who is the Federalist founder, and he said, Democrat orthodoxy in 2022. A handful of unnamed insurrectionists nearly overthrew the entire U.S. government on January 6th. And also, the Second Amendment is stupid because you couldn't possibly overflow the U.S. government without tanks, bombers, and nukes. This brings us back to everyone from January 6th being demonized as insurrectionists and people with water bottles outside, and it was such a huge deal. But now Biden is saying, wait, hold up, you can't do this without tactical fighter jets. And someone else had a really great comment as well about that this could potentially be political violence. Gee, this kind of sounds like political violence to me. There is a difference between wanting to fight against the country and understanding the necessity of defending against a tyrannical government. The founders understand this, even if you do not. This is why the Second Amendment is so important and why we support it here at the Western Journal and why it is in the Constitution, bringing it back. Joe Biden actually mistook the Constitution for the Declaration in this same event that he had. There was a lot of very, very controversial statements that he made. Also one about basketball and being the only white guy on East Side. You can check that out on our social media, which is wjlive podcast on Instagram. Stay tuned because we're going to be having a very, very influential interview with someone that is going up against the Democrats and told us that what he saw is something that the Democrats are most afraid of. PureBulk has a variety of healthy supplements that can help push you through your workout or your work week. Go to purebulk.com and enter code WJLive to get a 15% discount on your entire order. Today we have Grant Botma, who is the host of the Stewardship podcast and has written a book about work-life harmony. But he recently went viral for exposing the anti-school choice organization Save Our Schools, and it was even retweeted by Carrie Lake, who is a Trump-endorsed candidate here in Arizona. Welcome, Grant.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's going to be fun.
Before we get into the specifics of what went down, can you tell us a little bit more about this historic ESA bill and what it will mean for Arizona students?
Yeah, so because I have 3 kids and I have a bunch of other friends who have children that are in the education systems here in Arizona, the legislation in Arizona passed the House and the Senate, what's called the ESA, which stands for Empowerment Scholarship Account Expansion Bill. So this ESA is something that can be given currently to children who have maybe disabilities or another special qualified item that says, hey, look, they're not getting their needs met at the public school. So we, as the government, will fund that child to have a different option for them. And that's been around in our state for over a decade. It's made a huge impact on a lot of great families because the truth is the public school system sometimes fails, specifically in the special needs area. A couple months ago, they expanded that to make it so that it's available for all children. So no matter your income or your zip code, you can be empowered with finances to create a better educational option for your child, which is a really big deal. And right now it's estimated that the amount that would be given is about $7,000 per year per child. So this was something that was passed into law, signed by the governor. But there is an organization called Save Our Schools, which is trying to stop it.
So you caught them in several lies, and one of them was the amount that will be going to schools. What is the difference between what they said versus what is the actual amount that will be allocated to a child?
Yeah, in that conversation, they communicate and have this kind of like fear tactic that says, hey, this bill is going to take $1 billion away from the public school system. And that sounds like crazy dangerous, right? That sounds, wow, that's like a lot of money. So my response to that was like, oh, wow, $1 billion. That sounds terrible. Where is that in the bill? And it's not in the bill. There's nothing in the bill that even mentions the words $1 billion. But there's nothing in there that says $1 billion will be taken away from the public school systems and given to A, B, C, or D. So they communicated that the school system only gets about $3,000. I think she said $3,250 per child. And that's actually false. The combination of state and local funding per pupil funding in Arizona is about $10,000. And that's just the state and local funding. Now, on top of that, the public school system also gets federal funds. It's hard because the federal system doesn't do per pupil funding, but it's estimated that if the federal funds were put into a per pupil funding, that the total amount that the public school system gets in per pupil funding is about $14,000. That's more than it costs to go to Arizona State University. And it's more than double what families would get if they applied for this empowerment scholarship account, and they could use those funds then to go to whichever school or they wanted to.
They also made some false statements about private schools. What did they say to you?
Yeah, their big thing was that private schools would get funded directly. They said that this is just funding, the rich people who are running private schools, and now money's going to go directly to private schools, and that's not true at all. This bill is all about funding students, not systems. So there's not one institution or system that's going to get funded directly. Moreover, this whole empowerment scholarship account is not about just private schools. You can use the funds for going to a private school, but you can also use it for at-home learning. You can also use it for a micro school or a hybrid school or thousands of other different options that are available on the government website under Class Wallet, where you can use that money. They tell you all the different things that you can use that money for, and there's so many different options. So yeah, they said that this funds private schools directly. I knew that they were lying when they said that. So I asked them again. I said, so you're saying this funds private schools directly? Money goes directly to private schools? And she said, yes, but that's not how it goes at all. The money, when applied for by people in our community, goes into an account. It's called Class Wallet, and that is managed and monitored by the government. It's in the parent's name, but it's for the child. And then from there, the parents can allocate those funds for approved items under this ESA expansion. And one of those items can be a private school, but no private school is funded directly through this bill at all.
How much can parents and taxpayers save by using an ESA?
Yeah, if you have children and you are currently paying into the taxpayer system, if you have grandchildren and you are currently paying into the taxpayer system, you're funding right now public schools. If you're a parent, or if you are a grandchild and you don't, or a grandparent, and you don't think that the public school system is ideal for your children or your grandchildren, you can have the parents of the child apply for this account, and they can get $7,000 to then be used to pay for other educational services. So that's $7,000 per child per year. And on top of that, if the money is not used in a school year, it stays in the account and then can be used next year. But if it keeps building and keeps banking, the funds can actually be used for college, which is really great. So when you ask how much can this save taxpayers, I think the question more should maybe be, how much does this empower a child to have an awesome education? Sure, it's $7,000 per year of taxpayer money that's going to make the child's education better, but wow, how great could that be that he can even be paying for college, depending on how the money is used on a year-to-year basis.
The problem we've been seeing time and time again is that they will pass these bills that are giving so much more money, but they're actually not going to the teachers so much of the time. What percentage is going to the teachers in this new bill?
Yeah, so there is data all over the place. And I'm one of those people. Again, my family's been involved in the public school system. I believe teachers are underpaid, and I don't think it's right. And I've voted many times to pass legislation to increase funds going to the public school system, because it was promised to me that if I voted yes on this thing, then teachers would get paid more. And we, as citizens in the state of Arizona, have been voting on this stuff for over 20 years to increase funds, and pretty much every single time funds are increased more and more and more into the public school system. But teacher salaries over a 20-year period have only increased 8%, and that's with inflation. That's crazy to me. Whereas the amount of salaries that have increased to new administrators or higher ups within the public school system has gone crazy high. There are even people in this Twitter thread that are working in public schools or on public school boards making comments talking about, oh yeah, that's for sure how it works. Teachers and students do not get the bulk of those funds. Most of those funds are being given to, creating new jobs for higher up administrators, superintendents, and more. So that's a big problem there. I don't believe anymore that the problem with the public school system is the amount of money. They have plenty of money. I believe it's the management of that money.
What is a bipartisan effort that Democrats and Republicans could come together to solve this problem that teachers are not being paid, and we need to find a way to both give people school choice but have people that do still want to participate and go to public school, those teachers having enough money?
Yeah, I believe choices and independence is the key. We first all, I think on a bipartisan level, can agree to this. The parent is the ultimate authority in a child's education. And as a result, we need to pass legislation that empowers the parent to be that ultimate authority. So as an example, if something is happening at a public school that the parent doesn't agree with, and it doesn't align with their values, doesn't align with their education goals, doesn't necessarily meet their kids' needs for education, they don't really currently have a ton of power in making a change happen. They have to show up to a school board meeting. They get a specific period of time that they're allowed to talk. They have to have that speech prepared. They have to practice it and hope and pray that that speech makes an impact on the school board, and that school board actually decides they want to listen to them and then tries to enact a change, and that change likely won't come immediately if it does.
You shared in your Twitter thread that one of the big lies was that they said this bill only helps rich Republicans. Is there an income requirement for the ESA?
There is not. And that's what I asked her to show me. I said, hey, could you show me in the bill where the line item that says this is only for rich people? Or where's the line item in the bill that says this is only for people over a certain dollar amount? It's not. This bill is all about equality. It's for everyone. It doesn't matter what your income is. It doesn't matter what your zip code is. You can have access to these funds to create a better education for your child if you want. No one's forcing anybody to take it. You do not have to do it. You can apply for it if you'd like. News just came out earlier today that the pre-applications that is open now, so you can apply for the scholarship now, even though it doesn't go live until September 24th. It's over 6,500 people have already applied. 6,500 families, that is, have already applied for this. So it's very, very popular. But yeah, it's not one of those things where you have to take it at all. It's a choice. So if you like your public school, you can stay in that public school. But these funds now just empower the family to have options and choices, which I think are a great thing.
Do you think that this is something that could be implemented nationwide?
Yes. I believe that's what the Democrats are the most scared of. Right now, and this is all public information, so you can look it up, but I think to date, the total amount of money that was donated to the DNC, the Democratic National Campaign, from the National Teachers Union, it exceeded over $3 million so far to date this year. So the teachers, when they work at public schools, they are pressured like crazy to join these teachers unions, and if they don't join, they're looked down upon, they're treated differently. It's really bad how they can get discriminated against. And if you do join, then a portion of your paycheck automatically goes to the teachers unions, and the teachers unions then take that money and they fund Democrat politicians, right? Well, what Arizona has done with this bill has created a roadmap for other states to follow. So if they get this petition signed, here's what's going to happen. Not only is Save Our Schools Arizona going to pour crazy amounts of money into the vote that it would take to have this thing go back into action, but you're going to see money, millions upon millions upon millions of dollars from the DNC, from teachers unions nationally. Other states are going to come in and just pour money to do whatever they can to make sure that this bill never sees the light of day. Because if it does, again, it's going to be a roadmap for other states. And if other states start following this, and there's less money going into those teachers' unions, that's not good for them, right? And so they're going to do anything they can to try to keep the money in their pockets.
So it all comes down to money then. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was fun.